We are live. I am Michelle Talbert from the No Small Business Left Behind Summit, as well as Her Power Space. We're here on the Her Power Space Facebook page and the Michelle Y. Talbert Facebook page. We are live for this edition of Summit to Summit, which is peak to peak in the valley. We're helping you through the valleys of business, entrepreneurship, and some parts of life too, right? So I wanted to hop on. We have a great guest today, but I wanted to come on first just to remind you who don't know that we launched in May the No Small Business Left Behind Summit as a way to help small business owners not only survive the pandemic, but thrive in the pandemic and beyond. So each month, we host a different focused on no small business, Lord have mercy, no small business left behind summit. And this one is the Unvendor edition, which is what I was trying to get out because I'm super excited about it. So on the Vendor edition of the No Small Business Left Behind Summit, we are featuring small business owners in a virtual vendor fair. So you, as a member of the public, as people who are saying, I want to buy Black, as people who are saying, I want to shop small, as people who are saying, I want to support women-owned businesses, this is your time. You can join us this Saturday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. We will be live at nosmallbusinessleftbehindsummit.com. You can see the website is going by on the bottom. I am so excited about this opportunity to bring all of these incredible businesses to you so you can learn. Again, summit to summit is a valley, right? And we're getting through this valley called the pandemic, but we're going to hit those summits again. And this is an opportunity for all of us to collectively come together and do just that. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope you come out. I want to now bring on our guest. And as you are here, be sure to drop your information in the comments and say hello. I am bringing on Corey LeGrand, and he's going to introduce himself.
Hey, Talbert, how's it going?
How's it going? Good to see you.
Likewise.
All right, so we are on Facebook. We are live. We told the
Okay,
people to talk about training. We told the
okay,
people to talk about plants. We told the people to
okay.
talk about mental health. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about you? Who is Corey LeGrand?
All right, my name is Corey LeGrand. I'm actually a host of a podcast called Break Time. It's actually, you could catch it on Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud. Put it in the comments over there. So if you ever go on Apple Podcasts, just put in Break Time and I'll pop up. Additionally to that, I am actually working for the government, IT trainer. So I travel around and work with different courthouses and teach other judges, attorneys, and members of the court how to use applications such as Microsoft Office, Adobe, and other applications that we use here in the courtroom. And you know, in my free time, I do some community service. I work with Broward County Libraries, and I teach free computer literacy classes on the weekends. Well, not right now because of the pandemic we're in, but once things open back up, every Saturday, free of charge from 10 to 12 o'clock. So come on out to the African American Research Library. Catch us out there live for great computer learning and great engagement.
Well, Joy Crawford is saying hello, Joyful, as I call her. And Joy, actually, did you hear that? Joy has been reading and volunteering for so many years. So I know what you just said about the work you do at African American Research Library touched her soul. Joy, thank you so much for being here.
Wow.
So Corey, we met about a year ago when I was working with Jill Tracy on Hot Talk
Mhm.
with Jill Tracy, which is a show that covers sort of hot topics and what's going on in the community and
Right.
beyond. And you were there to talk about your program for
Right.
men's mental health.
Right.
So can you just touch a little bit upon the work that you do in that area? And just
Mhm.
know the follow-up that's coming is about plants. So, because you took a bold step. And so
Right.
tell us about the bold step you took with regard to plants and then Black men's mental health, including.
Um, okay. Well, for the most part, like I find sometimes I find gratification in just talking about my story and just releasing it. And it felt good sometimes being in a vulnerable spot and just kind of talking about the things that impacted me and just being a male in the society that I live in. How for a while it was very taboo, expressing how you felt, expressing that you hurt, expressing that, someone said something to offend you. So it was really taboo to actually like express those things and was always suppressed, suppressed, suppressed. And I just got to a point that in my life that I was experiencing a lot by suppressing and I needed an outlet. And I remember just talking to a couple of my friends, and they were just kind of enlightening because I was going to my friends for some type of male bonding, nurturing, but it ultimately I ended up triggering them to, start coming out as well and say, man, I've been going through that too, and I just didn't know what to say. Like finally, someone came and said something. I feel like a safe space, and I was like, for a
Right.
while, I would have these conversations amongst my friends, and I'm like, I wonder how many other guys are going through this because I know I'm not by this alone, and that's when I met you when we launched our first one, and there was a lot of people that came out. So I mean, there are a lot of stories. The age ranges were amazing. I mean, you're talking from age 32 to 76, from various countries. So everybody had a different story, but all in all, that we were hurting inside. We were hurting, and that's where we kind of, our common ground and where our kindred spirits connected in that space.
And so, I remember when Jay Z originally dropped the 444 album, which was a very mature album for him and touched a
Hmm.
lot upon emotional issues. And as part of that album release, there were these snippets of conversation with groups of Black men tapping into how they felt about their relationships, their children, their life. Do you feel that it's possible that society doesn't allow Black men to sort of show up and say, "This is how I'm feeling"? Is that sort of the norm you find?
Yeah, and in subtle ways as well. I think it's just all of us, just the toxicity about living in a patriarchal society, where women are silenced and even men are silenced. Believe it or not. I mean, we could just take it in just a small spectrum, right? Where very, very rarely, like can a male be an actual victim? You know what I mean? So it's always some type of villainization behind it. I remember a couple of years ago, the brother that got murdered out in Dallas by the Caucasian female police officer. He got murdered in his house, and they found a way to villainize him in the process. Where if he wasn't
Well,
selling drugs, like come on, you know what I mean? So it's really tough sometimes to be a villain, and sometimes we are the villain. Let's own it. But there are times when we're really not the villain, and you have to kind of prove yourself outside of that. It's like, man, we can't be victims of something either. So it's tough sometimes.
and what do you think that we can do as society to try to combat that? Because, I mean, when women are healthy, when men are healthy, society is healthy, right? I mean, that's
Hmm.
all of society. So, how can we create spaces? What are some things that you think we can do as individuals in our day to day to make these safe spaces for men to feel comfortable expressing themselves emotionally?
I think society as a whole, we have to acknowledge that mental illness is real. I think that we also need to debunk the false narratives going on about mental health. We need to understand that each case is separate, and just like dealing with plants, each case deserves a different set of nurturing that goes with it. So we have to be aware of that. I've seen cases, especially working at the courthouse, guys getting locked up for being a schizophrenic and committing violence against people. Well, that's a mislabel because schizophrenia, you're violent towards yourself. You're harmless to other people. And the
Mm,
sad part is that if they're getting labeled that as a schizophrenic, and then society believes that schizophrenia is associated with sociopaths and killing people, people who are legit schizophrenics are now looped into this false narrative when they don't, so it goes into, I mean, I know I kind of extended a little bit further, but I'm just saying that the natural curiosity to understand what these conditions are, and also people actually being transparent about it. Like, you've been feeling kind of off lately a lot consistently, you know, it might be some mass trauma in there. So,
right.
as a parent, if you want to extend it over, it's for parents and stuff like that. I mean, we can kind of open those doors for our children and make him and understand, well, help them understand that it's okay to express yourself. I have a son. I make sure he expresses himself. I keep
Right.
coming at him until he opens up and speaks, and he feels safe to speak about it. And whatever he feels, that's what he feels. We don't gaslight him. We don't try to make him feel different because his different makes me feel different. So I just kind of own out to what it is and let's work with it.
Absolutely. So, Miss Lola, hello to me and Corey. Hello, Miss Lola. Hey, Raisa, we see you. And Joyful, of course. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We will be turning shortly. They're talking about making money, but we got to be right in here before we get the
Right,
money. Because
right,
if we're not right, the money's not going to flow properly anyway.
right, right,
So, your mama named you Corey, but
right.
I call you Plant Papa, right? Let's
Okay,
be honest.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I call you
absolutely.
Plant Papa because if anybody follows me in terms of what's going on with the space and how sad I was to come back after, the pandemic, when I came back from DC and being with my kids and realized that one of my plants basically didn't make it. He didn't make it, right? And I knew that Corey really has a passion for plants and foliage and greenery. And how many plants do you have in your personal cache of greens, sir?
83.
Exactly. That's an
83.
83. 83. He has
Yeah.
83 plants, right? And I reached out to Corey and said, Corey, this is probably one of the saddest ways I've ever felt coming out of this pandemic. Yeah, the money was lost and things like that, but this was a living being, right? That didn't make it. And so Corey like hopped to it and has really been there to help me bring that breath of life into this space. And we have some nice greenery bromeliads and aloe and alocasia over there that I'm looking at. But Corey, you actually were very transparent using social media to first come out about your love of plants. So can you touch upon that and then we're going to talk about training?
Yeah, I tell you what, it was funny. How did I first? Because that's the first question people ask me, like, man, how did you become so involved in plants? Well, it all began spring of 1993. I was like in the first
A
grade,
wonderful black child.
and I was actually spending I was spending time with my dad. We were sitting on the patio. We had like this nice patio here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was sitting on the patio with my dad. We're eating watermelon, sitting outside, in the afternoon. And I was like, Dad, we always got to go up here and to this truck and buy watermelons. Why don't we just grow our own? He was like, all right, here's the seeds, plant them. And it was like almost like a micro story of like Jack and the Beanstalk. So I took those seeds and I planted them, and they started to bud, and then the flowers started to come. And after like most plants that produce a fruit, everybody knows flowers and then the fruit. So if you didn't know, that's how you know the food is coming. So my watermelon plant had these beautiful, nice, luscious yellow flowers that were coming up looking kind of like daisies. And then the lawn man came and cut my watermelon plant. And I was so upset with him. Like I held that grudge for probably like 5 or 6 years with him because he did it twice, not just once, twice. I forgave you first, second time you did it, I can't forgive you no more. And I kind of let go of the planning idea, but I also understood how like fun it was because every single day I would like go with my little notebook and just take like notes of my plants. After that happened, life started to happen. I started to get a little older, sports. Then all of a sudden, someone introduced girls, and then plants just became the back burner. But I always admired them so much. And then the pandemic happened. Before the pandemic happened, I did keep plants in my office where I worked down in Miami. Not this, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, but in Miami, I had plants down there because it was a hobby. My boss and I actually connected with our plants. We actually found a point where we could talk and like compare notes. So we just started collecting plants. And then once the pandemic happened, I started bringing those plants home. I already had plants in my house. And I started noticing like with all these plants, it was a lot of work tending to them, watering, fertilizing, pruning. And each plant has like its own personality. So I can't, what I do to a pothos, I can't do to aloe. What I do to aloe, I can't do to the fiddle leaf fir or a fig tree. So it's like everybody has their own needs at different rates. So on like just kind of living in that schedule and shaping my schedule to accommodate their needs. I'm like, man, I'm treating these things like people and they behave like people. Some of them require a lot of nurturing, some of them require full neglect. And it's just like discipline and that schedule and that dependency. Because ultimately, the bottom line, what I love about plants so much, folks, I know I gave you guys a long-winded answer, but ultimately, what I love about plants so much is they give you so much and want so little. Sun and water. That's all they want. But they give you oxygen. So I think that's really impactful. So that's one of the reasons why I attach it. So when I find other people who get excited about plants, I get excited for them. And I try to help out the best way I can. I mean, fortunately, Talbert, you also forgot to say you live walking distance from my house. So I don't want everybody thinking like, oh, he's gonna come to my house and do this. Like, no, not if you live in North Miami. No, 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 no,
Disclaimer.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So you just call me Talbert. Some folks might have caught that.
Oh yeah.
What is that about?
Talbert is a name that kind of stuck out to me because it's a unique name. And like Michelle's her first name. With Michelle, I know a lot of Michelles. Some good, some bad, some indifferent, but none like that one. So it's the only Michelle that I call Talbert. So we'll go from there, right? So then the funny thing is on Instagram, I follow Tony
Baker.
Tony Baker, yeah, Tony Baker Comedy. And he had these two cats, right? And this one cat was being really judgmental to the other one. And because the other one was just eating yogurt, and he just turned around, he's like, "Shut it up, Talbert." And the way he said it, I was like, I know it, Talbert. And since then, it's stuck. So she's always Talbert to me.
Lucky me. So that doesn't have anything to do with your years of service. Thank you for your service to our country and the Coast Guard.
Oh, no
and each other as last names. So yes, this is Talbert. So today we're on Summit to Summit with Talbert featuring Corey LeGrand. So we're going to pivot a little bit. All right. So we got our insights right. We're here to talk about money and business and positioning yourself as an expert. And one of the things that I've always done is help people position themselves as experts from the marketing perspective, sharing information online, utilizing the platforms that they're already on to really say, hey, I know about this. You should contact me. Here's why. You should have me speak at your event and train. So talk to us about, now I do the social media. You do the here's what you do when you get in the room. And why is that so important? So first of all, talk to us about, as business owners, with regard to training. What's your thinking there?
So it's funny how, like, I like how you structured our whole dialogue so far, right? Because ultimately, by I would say my gift is training and teaching people. Both my parents were educators, and psychology is a big part of it, and cognition is another part. And how does that apply to training? Well, if you have both of these and they're both in a great space, the cognitive exercises and just the overall support with the psychology and the well-being is all balanced. What you have is called self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is basically one individual's ability or the belief that they can actually perform the job. See, too often, a lot of times where we have employees that work for us, or sometimes we're running our own business, we might be overwhelmed and we get lost in the sauce, or we get lost in our creativity, or we get overwhelmed with filling sales orders and deadlines and stuff like that. And our self-efficacy, our belief in doing something, can be depleted. Now, sometimes what I specialize in is actually training, and sometimes that training can be instrumental in developing that self-efficacy. So when self-efficacy is high, and not only is it high, how does that impact our overall end goal there? Performance goes up. These are facts, right? On top of that, work and engagement, work-life and balance increases, and just overall job satisfaction is great. So training plays an important piece in that. Sometimes it could be learning a new trade. Sometimes it could be reinforcement. Sometimes it could be maybe addressing the bottleneck that's in our operations. So training plays a very important role in it. And I know that since we have been working home, oh my gosh, our request for training here at the work where I work at has gone up tremendously because people are learning like, there's so many things out there. Microsoft Office, Teams, what is this? Zoom, how do you use this? What we're doing right now, we never thought that this was ever going to be important. It's just like a fun luxury that we use to talk to our family that doesn't live down here. So
talk about how people can utilize this opportunity now to show up online and share what they know with their potential customers. right? And are we talking about the value to corporations? Like, can you get big dollars by doing something as simple as this, turning on your camera and talking about what you know?
Absolutely. One of the things that now, because so many people are tuning into like video live feed trainings, so like what you're doing right here, there are a lot of them that are free. There are, to be honest with you, but you can actually what makes sure it's separate is when you tailor it to that specific like company, and that's where
Talk
you have to
about
do your
it.
research.
Talk
So
about it. Talk
sometimes,
about
so
how do you
so
package
what
that
I
content?
so what I usually do when I work with different organizations, like for instance, working with the Seminole Tribe, we call KPIs, key performance indicators, and basically what it is you're basically running an assessment on the company, finding out what's the bottleneck, what are the needs. Like, okay, we have 200 people here, they show up to work every day, but they're not finishing their tasks. So we could actually run surveys to find out what's going on. Maybe a couple of interviews. Maybe get with HR and find out, maybe it's a trend in hiring. Maybe it might be a situation where we have nepotism and it's just a behavior amongst the family. So it's so many different ways to actually look into it. So yes, these things are free, but the training that's out there right now that's free, it's kind of like a one size fit all. So that's why it's free. But if you really want to get into the meat and potatoes, you want to tailor it down to your needs, especially if you want to profit off the training.
Okay. And so what are some takeaways? What are some things that people can do to begin to capture their knowledge and package it in a way that they can market it and present it?
So some of the things that I've learned along the way that's really been attracting a lot of folks is just baseline. So the question is, what is your audience? Because there are people out here that want to provide services they could provide services to adolescents, they could provide service to adults. So if whether it's adolescents, kids, or adults, you definitely want to look at it as an andragogy or pedagogy. Pedagogy is the study of children and how their brain and their learning processes work. And andragogy is the study of adults because adults and children, we don't think alike. So we also want to start to at least learn that understanding how an adult thinks. If you're going to work with adults like I do, you want to kind of tailor your training into that realm. And then after that, what do you specialize in, right? So if it's like, for instance, if I want to do plants, I'm doing a thing on plants. I want to make it creative. I want to make it simple where adults like to learn it. So running a video course like what you're doing here is actually awesome. And a lot of people, to be honest with you, like adults, how we want to know how this is important. And even when I'm talking to you about your plants, you're like, I want in and out, Corey. I want deliver. I want drive by service. Don't
He's like
don't
sending me links, like, look at
right.
this, Tom.
I'm not here for that. What do I need to do? How about this?
Exactly.
Model it for me. Let me see it. All right, I got it. And that's just one of the things, as adults, that's how we want it. I can't come in here like as my third grade agriculture class and show the seed and show the germination and the whole phases of growing. You're not here for that. You're here for the
Everybody got time for
soil,
that.
water, I'm out. That's all you want.
Exactly. So the question then is, okay, now how do we price that? If we've never done training before,
Hmm.
if we're not even sure how to package what we know,
Hmm.
how do we then price it? Okay, so you told us how to think about our audience, you told us how to
Right,
think about putting the information together and
right,
presenting it, but
right.
now how do we price it?
So what the best way I like to do it is because when I don't like to put set prices when it comes to training. Me as
Really?
a trainer, I don't because I'm gonna tell you why. The reason why it becomes to it because I cannot gauge your personnel or whoever I'm going to be engaging with their level of understanding, especially what I present. See, in some
Okay.
cases, I might be working with you for a day and we're good to go. In some cases, I plan to work with you for a day, but you need a week. So
Right.
you pay like a $500 flat fee and I might be stuck with you for a month or two
Yeah.
months, depending on the product itself. So what I
Right.
like to do, I like to just go ahead and shoot out an hourly rate. I think it's
Okay.
fair.
So
I think
we're
it's
out.
consistent hourly. And then that way, by doing the hourly rate, then it's easy to base it off of. And sometimes you don't feel like, man, I got shortchanged or man, I may have charged that person too much. Because for me, it's all about ethics. I want to be fair with my customers. I want to be fair with my clients. Hey, listen, if we're only working 20 hours, I'm billing you for 20 hours.
Right. I just had a client conversation yesterday. Actually, a client brought me on board to help them hire a social media professional and PR person. And we were talking about my hourly rate and going through over 100 applications came in a 24-hour period for the job going up. Yeah.
Wow.
It's this is what's going on in reality, folks. So I'm bringing this up for two reasons. Number one, the job market is crowded, right? And the pay is not even honestly that great. Okay. And you have people applying who are like former presidential candidates, press people. So that lets you know what's going on in the workplace, which is why we're talking about entrepreneurship and how to get extra income streams, right? But we talked about, sort of what are the caps? What are we looking at? Because with him, I am doing an hourly rate. And I was able to sort of chunk it and say, okay, well, I'm going through resumes. This is how long this should take. We're going through their answers to the survey. I'm going through your notes from their first interview. And now, okay, he wants me to actually talk with them and do a second interview, right? Because he doesn't understand social media enough to ask the questions that are super important. So he gets them in terms of where they are with regard to alignment for his nonprofit's mission. But now it's like, okay, I know what I don't know, so I'm going to bring you in. But then it's, so how many hours do you think this will take? And that's understandable, but this is where you have to know yourself. And like Corey said, where it's really important to say, look, let me manage your expectations. We are working hourly, what's your budget? Because I did say, well, what's your budget? Do you have a cap? Right? Because that's an important conversation. These conversations are very important before any work gets started. Right? And so then, Corey, do you go back in? Are you able to set it up so you can have some recurring income? So you say, okay, well, I'll be back in 6 months and we can do this. And, because you talked about the KPI, the key performance indicators on the front end.
Yes.
On the back end, because y'all know I'm about income streams. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about income streams, Corey.
I tell you what, man. So for the most part, right? I've had situations. Well, I'm working with a company now. There's a couple of things that we got to iron out. Is that we're looking at a consistent rate as well, because it's the need for my services are pretty much an ongoing basis. So just to kind of be transparent with what's happening here is I'm helping out a nonprofit with high school students that need to get the service industry exam passed. Well, it's a different, because now I'm dealing with a unique set of students. These students that are taking the industry certification exam are not in magnet programs. They are identified as low-level readers, so like level ones, so meaning that they kind of struggle with reading and comprehension. And preparing them for an exam, for industry certification exam, it takes time. So I chose to go, same thing, my hourly rate, but now I go from a window of start date and end date, and we schedule those days that I work with these students. And I'm going to be with them for a year long. The exam is usually offered like probably quarterly, but I'm focusing on semester-wise because of the students and their level of understanding and the rate that I'm going to have to move to make sure they get it. So with that being said is, I expect this first set of students from August to December, come back from winter break, they take the exam, then I have a new set of students from January to June. So, but they contracted me out for an entire year, Monday through Friday, this many hours, and we stick to that schedule. No more, no less. This is it, and this is the final product they're going to get.
That makes sense. That's great, and that manages expectations, and so nobody has sticker shock, nobody's surprised, and we continue.
Again, if we have a high success rate, which we will, guess what happens? We roll another contract over again, and it's just supplemental income constantly coming in.
Exactly.
Now, I'll tell you one thing that's really funny. One of my other buddies out in San Antonio who does what I do, who actually does training like I do as well here in South Florida, he got so big that he got bought out.
That's awesome. For training.
Like he posed a threat. Yeah, because of the amount of people that he was reeling in, that one of the local companies, they bought him out. They wanted him to stop. So basically the way they made him stop is they I guess they put him on a commission basis, and then they gave him a salary. So basically the salary did not include the already customers he had. So when he overloaded all of his customers on there, they had to pay him for all that, and he almost ended up like doubling his salary. So he's sitting good right now. So sometimes if
You
you're doing the right thing,
and that's like we're talking about it as a side hustle because remember Corey got a good government job, right?
right,
So this is
right,
additional income, and
right,
who doesn't
right.
love additional income? Hey, Michelle Fletcher, Michelle Power in the room. So
Okay.
one of the things that I'm going to do real quick, Raisa is on here, and I'm going to call her out because she is a person who does incredible flower installations. She
Okay.
does actual cutting of this special material. And if anybody has ever been to any of our events where she is Paper Blooms Forever, she has set up the incredible backdrops and gorgeous plumes and all types of colors. She can match them
Mm.
to your brand. It's beautiful. And every
Ah,
time we host an event, people say, Raisa, will you teach me how to do that? Right? So this is
right,
a
right,
perfect opportunity, Raisa. I am calling you out because we've talked about it before. For you to
right.
be able to take the information and knowledge that you have and break it down into pieces and sell it as a
Yeah,
course or training, even online, right? So
absolutely.
I just, want to use Raisa to call her out to put some fire to her feet. I know she's gonna yell at me later. No, she
Right.
said, okay, thanks, love. See, yay, it's all love. This is how we make her power moves and we make sure that we
Absolutely.
all win. All right, good. So, Corey, as we begin to sort of wind down our conversation today,
Hmm.
before we wind it all the way down, I got to shout out like 5 minutes before I went live, you guys can see Black Girl Magic Rose, Black Girl Magic, I think it's
Magic.
Red Blend, right? Our homegirl Pangeline Edwards stopped in on her way to vote, unannounced, just trying to catch me, and brought me some Black Girl Magic just to show love. And I just want to say, hey, Pangie, I told you I was going to shout you out on the live, and thank you for stopping by. We did virtual hugs. You guys know we're here at 4300 North University Drive, Suite F as in Frank 100. Corey, tell the people, like, how can they keep up with you? Where can they find you? Pause.
Absolutely.
I forgot to mention, Corey actually is affiliated with Her Power Space because you know that we are woman forward and men welcoming. Corey, you
All right.
actually have added these additional income streams doing business services such as
Right.
business plan, right?
Yeah,
Consulting and writing people's
absolutely.
business plans, as
Hmm.
well as being a certified notary public and
Yes,
being
yes,
affiliated with Her Power Space as a virtual and in-person notary public, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And definitely thank you for opening your doors to me. I really appreciate it. And the environment there as well is so welcoming. It's a really great workspace. I was telling you, like I told you before, I mean, I wish you were around in like 2016 because we were looking when I was in grad school. I was like, yo, I wish we had somewhere where we could listen to trap music and just not be bothered and study and work. And I mean, I'm sitting in cars and stuff, but honestly, now that you guys got this up, it's definitely like an awesome place to come and just kick back, and just relax and be unbothered. I really enjoyed being there, even though sometimes I'm working in there, but that's okay. I do appreciate the time. It's
Especially on my
awesome.
plan.
Yeah,
Put
yeah,
it to
but
work.
it's
Put
cool.
it to
It's
work.
cool. It's therapy all the way around, so it works.
Exactly. So people can catch up with you. I have your IG going across the bottom.
Yeah, that's
And
me.
they can check you out on Break Time on Apple Podcasts, which I also had going across the bottom earlier.
Right.
Are there any parting words of wisdom that you have for our incredible audience?
Oh man, well, first of all, I thank everybody for tuning in. I wish you all the best of luck in all your endeavors. Just continue to be the best you. If you could attend any of those free trainings that are online, I strongly suggest that you take advantage of this opportunity because a better you, a better me makes us a better we.
That's his thing, man. That is his thing. And also a plug for LinkedIn Learning. He is in love obsessed with LinkedIn Learning, right? You said there's some really good freebies out there. So get your free education, then charge people what you know. That's how
There
we
you
hustle.
go.
All right.
There you
Thank you
go.
so much, Trey. I appreciate
I
it.
tell you, take care.
Bye. So thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, Michelle Fletcher, thank you. So tell your friends, we are here every Tuesday at noon for Summit to Summit with Michelle White Talbert. That's me. Also want to just again remind you that this Saturday from 1 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, we are hosting the No Small Business Left Behind Summit, where you can get information, shop, do all kinds of amazing things with our vendors. So far, we have almost 30 vendors who have signed up to tell you about their businesses, who you can connect with, who you can support by coming out and learning about what they offer and buying from them, right? And this is a vendor fair that does not charge you. It is completely free and open to the public. And if you are someone who's in healthcare, fitness, in any kind of area, because we would love to have some health and fitness folks do some like online activities, please reach out to me. Michelle Fletcher, I'm thinking about you. Please reach out to me because the platform that we're using is just like this. You can even bring people on and have them do the exercises with you or cook or anything, try on clothes. This is going to be incredible. We have consultants, we have fashion. No Small Business Left Behind Summit.com. You can register for your free registration to come and shop with us. And also, if you are interested in being an vendor, we are accepting vendor applications until tomorrow. We have sold out on all of the live. We have sold out on all the live commercials. So if you didn't get it, catch us on the next one. Wanting my Minding My Black. Oh, yes, you're wearing your Minding My Black Owned Business t-shirt. I love it. I love it. Michelle Fletcher won that t-shirt on the last No Small Business Left Behind Summit. Thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, definitely. Let's connect. You can reach out to me. The website is here. No Small Business Left Behind Summit. And everybody knows how to get in touch with me. Y'all stay in my DMs in my inbox. I will see you next Tuesday for another edition of the No Small Business Left Behind Summit to Summit series with Michelle Y. Talbert. Thank you all for your time. I'll see you next week.